What is going on, YouTube? We are WeNerdOut, and welcome back to a brand new video. And I know what you're thinking. Boy, it sure has been a long time since I've seen these two collab together. I apologize. That's my fault. I'll take the blame for it. But, as you can tell by the title of this video, with the upcoming release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we both thought that it would be a good idea to hop on the bandwagon and tell you guys the Pokemon that we want to use or intend to use for the upcoming release of this Pokemon game for the Nintendo Switch. So, without further ado, let's just hop into it, shall we? So, for the starters, we have a choice of grass type Sprigatito, Coco, or Quaxley. Now, for me personally, I'm going with Sprigatito. Now, I went through and I looked at the starter Pokemon that I have chosen over the last couple of games, and with 4 of them being fire, and in the Sun and Moon games, me choosing to have probably all my team, I figured, well, I need to give the grass type Pokemon some love. So I decided to go ahead and choose a grass type for this gen. But then whenever I seen that it was going to be this grass cat Pokemon, and with me being a lover of cats as well as dogs, I figured, I'll go ahead and choose Sprigatito. So he's going to be my first choice of who I'm going to choose for my team in Scarlet and Violet.
My first choice for the starter is going to be Fuecoco.
Okay.
We did get spoiled by the uh, evolutions and everything. And in my opinion, Fuecoco's evolution looks a lot better.
Right.
But that's
Now,
just me.
yeah. Now, we decided before the video even started that we weren't going to show any pictures at all, really, but more so that if we did, we weren't going to show any that weren't released by Nintendo and stuff.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I'm someone that likes to get my information ahead of time. So yes, I did see the complete decks and stuff, which
Yeah.
is why I know ahead of time the kind of Pokemon that I do want to use for my team. And with that being said, moving on to the second Pokemon that I'm wanting to choose for my team, I am wanting to pick Kilowatt, which I'm pretty sure that's either the second or the first stage of the regional bird Pokemon. Now, my reason for that is because whenever I start a new Pokemon game, or even if I'm replaying through a Pokemon game, like I have with Sword and Shield, because I've replayed through that game like a billion times by now, I always like having the early route bird Pokemon on my team. And, well, for Sword and Shield at least, it was because Rookidee in its second 2 stages was so good throughout the game, all the way up until if I wanted to face like Opal or facing Bea, the fighting type female for Sword. It was good all the way up until then. And then
Mm.
afterwards, I would obviously replace it with Lucario because you had access to him after, around that time. And I'm pretty sure that this Pokemon is going to be no different. And so, because of that, I want it to be the second Pokemon for my team. Though I also have seen that the Staraptor line and the Talonflame line is also going to be in this game. So maybe once I do my second playthrough, if it turns out I'm not the biggest fan of this Pokemon, then I'll just substitute it with one of those two.
All right. My second out of the first 21 that have been shown is going to be Lechonk.
Okay.
Do I need to explain? It's Lechonk.
Yeah, you gotta love that pig Pokemon, huh?
Yes. And it
Okay.
does get Gluttony as the ability, so that's kind of good.
Now, what does Gluttony do?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I used it on Snorlax, and he's really good.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the third Pokemon. For me personally, I'm going to be choosing Fido. Because for me personally, I'm a huge fan of the fairy type. Back in X and Y, whenever the fairy type was first introduced, and we was introduced to Sylveon around that time, I instantly became a huge fan of the fairy type. And then whenever Sword and Shield and even the Sun and Moon games was released, and we were shown the fairy type Pokemon that was going to be in that game, was introduced to Poplio and his evolutionary line, and he becomes a fairy type. And then in Sword and Shield, he was introduced to Milcery and Alcremie. And as for right now, Alcremie is my favorite fairy type Pokemon out of all of them. But then, I just said a little while ago that I like to have my knowledge ahead of time and know the kind of Pokemon that I can and can't choose from. And then whenever the data mines, and even when it was officially released by Nintendo, whenever they showed that this was going to be the fairy type, I instantly latched onto it because yeah, I am a fan of cats and dogs, but whenever I seen this Pokemon and seen that it was going to be a fairy type, I instantly thought to myself that yes, this thing is absolutely cute, it's absolutely adorable, and then even afterwards, seeing its second stage evolution, that made me just want it on my team that much more. And so because of that, Ido is going to be my third Pokemon that I want on my team.
Yeah, I thought about using Fido, but my third is gonna be Graphify. Graphii. How do you spell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Grafii. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, I just think he looks kind of cool for it being a toxic monkey,
yeah, yeah. That
and
is pretty.
I like his ability as well. Poison touch
Oh yeah.
makes me think if we're gonna get toxic back, like the move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even when I seen it, I realized that it was going to be a really good Pokemon, and I like whatever. Well, to me, when I seen it, it came off as this whole, graffiti kind of thing, and this whole like juvenile delinquent kind of aesthetic
Yeah,
that it had to it. And well, I seen it's pre-evolutionary, it's pre-Evo, and
it
to
looks
me,
weird. It looks very weird.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to mention any names for that one anyway, more so because I can't remember what it's called. But I'm not the biggest fan of it,
mm,
though. The Pokemon itself, what it evolves into, Grafai, I like it. And I was thinking a few days ago that when I defeat the game for the first time and I do my second playthrough of it, that I am strongly considering even having that on my team as well, just
mm.
because it looks so cool, and I'm really interested to see the kind of moves it has and how it even handles itself in battle. So yeah, I think that's a good choice. So moving on for the fourth Pokemon that I want to use on my team. So this one, okay, so as I've stated previously, knowing information ahead of time. So whenever the data mines and the leaks started coming out for this Pokemon in particular, I was really excited because finally, we have a dolphin Pokemon.
Yeah, that's
And
also my fourth.
oh, well, cool. But whenever I heard about it, I was super ecstatic because even back in the Sun and Moon games, um, even before the full decks and even before the games were even playable, Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, people were thinking even back then, well, this is awesome. This is going to be the gen that we finally get a dolphin Pokemon. And yeah, it would have been more, like the dolphin Pokemon would have been there in that region. But as we all know by now, that wasn't the case. But then, like a month or so ago, whenever the leaks and data mines did start appearing all over social media in some areas for this game, it was just like a rumor, like a slight whisper that we were going to be getting a dolphin Pokemon. But then, about maybe 2 weeks ago, we people that like to look at lakes and stuff like that finally seen an image
Yeah,
of what this Pokemon was supposed to look like, and I was over the moon. because it looked so cute. It was exactly what I wanted for a dolphin Pokemon.
I'm
But
trying to find the whole
then,
Pokédex right now.
yeah, but then just here recently, you got to look at what its superhero form was supposed to look like, with it turning into that with the ability Zero to Hero, which whenever I first seen it, yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. But then I started seeing like gameplay of what how it turns into that, and
Yeah. Luckily, it
know
doesn't
that
stay like that.
yeah, its whole thing. Because whenever I first seen it and I was like rewatching, how it did what it did, to me it came off as a battle bond phenomenon kind of thing with Greninja. Because the whole reason it's even able to do that is because this one move that I'm pretty sure it's just for the dolphin Pokemon, which is known as Finizen, by the way.
Hmm.
And it's almost like if you take U-turn or like Volt Switch and stuff like that. Though it's just for, I'm guessing just for this Pokemon, it's just a water type version of those two moves, where it launches forward attacks and then goes back to you, and then you have the option to send it back out. And if you send it back out, then it's in its superhero stage, which, yeah, I I wasn't the biggest fan of it, and I'm still kind of not. But I have a feeling that once I get to using this Pokemon and get to playing it, it'll eventually grow on me.
Yeah.
But even still, I am still just so happy that we finally have the Dolphin Pokemon, and even when it does evolve, because its superhero stage is not its evolved form, that's just a thing that it goes through. Its evolved form, it does look kind of similar to its first stage, although its evolutionary stage is just like it gets like this little heart logo down on its like upper chest area or something like that. Other than that, it kind of basically looks exactly the same,
Hmm.
which is fine because if you're someone like me that's not the biggest fan of its whole Zero to Hero thing, then just don't use that move, don't send it back out. And as soon as I heard that the thing was called Zero to Hero, it gave me major Hercules vibes, because it's kind of off topic, but I'm a huge fan of the Disney's Hercules, and that being a song that was actually played in the movie, I just kind of connected the two, and I found it humorous. So yeah, so because of that, the Dolphin Pokemon is going to be my fourth choice for a Pokemon that I want to use in Scarlet and Violet.
That's also my fourth. Um, I'm glad it doesn't stay zero to hero.
Yeah.
Uh, its evolution is just fine. Zero to hero is sort of growing on me,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not my favorite. It took him 9 generations just to get a freaking dolphin, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
Kind of ridiculous, but I'm not mad.
Right, because we finally got it. It took them forever, but yeah, we finally got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on for the fifth Pokemon that I am wanting to use for my team. All right, so first off, I don't have this Pokemon's name memorized at all, but what it is, it's a combination of Gardevoir and Gallade, kind of like mixed together. It's a it's a future form of this Pokemon, and it's comes off as almost like this still robot
Yeah.
kind of thing. And what I heard was that this Pokemon is kind of sort of locked to the post game, if
Post
that
game.
is the case. And if that is locked to the post game, then I'm just going to say right now that this spot, if that's the case, is reserved for Silazar. And that 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 the reason for that is because, so this is the generation, this is the game where it had the most amount of Pokemon that I didn't like. And I mean, because it took me forever to find like 6 or 10 Pokemon that I did like. And for me, being someone that has played ever since Red, Blue, Green, Yellow, Fire Red, and Leaf Green, all those games, up even until Sword and Shield, had their decks had the most amount of Pokemon that I did like, and even and they came with a small amount that I didn't like.
Hmm.
And then you get to Scarlet and Violet, and this Dex just did a complete 180. It had the most amount of Pokemon that I didn't like, and the smallest amount that I did like. And for me, I thought that was just incredibly sad. I didn't like that it came to that at all. But I had at least one or two people that came to me and said that the creative team that was in charge of designing these Pokemon were basically brand new people. They weren't the same people that were in charge of designing the decks for Sword and Shield and so on and so forth. And whenever I heard that, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine.
That explains so much.
I'll cut them a little bit of slack, but that still doesn't change the fact that that they have that huge amount that I don't like." But Silazar was an exception to the case. He was one of them that I found that I did like. And so because of that, if this metal iron version of Gardevoir Delayed, if if that Pokemon is actually locked to post game, then yeah, my fifth slot will be for Silazar, but I'm really hoping that's not the case. But if it is, I'll cope. I'll be having to breathe in a huge amount of copium, but
Yeah.
that's what's going to have to happen. So that's my fifth Pokemon.
My fifth is, oh jeez, it's between two or three, but I'm probably gonna have to go with Greavard.
Okay.
Um, it's a ghost dog Pokemon, and I really like it. I like its evolution a lot more though. It looks like he
Mm-hmm.
has a tiny little Litwick on its head,
Yeah.
and I kind of like that. Um, he's just a Pokemon that I wanted for a while,
Mm-hmm.
just never had. Kind of, it's a ghost dog, so it kind of reminds me of All Dogs Go to Heaven,
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
and I kind of like it.
Yeah, because whenever they were showing the trailer for whenever like its first stage, whenever it was introduced, and you had that trainer that was showing up and it was playing fetch with the dog and everything,
Yeah.
you could tell that something was happening with the trainer. Like she was like getting really exhausted, getting really tired, and before she even said, "Hey, am I really this out of shape?" you kind of had the idea that that wasn't the case. But then the video started getting towards the end, and then you kind of had an idea in your head, like, "Oh, well, this is supposed to be some kind of a ghost type Pokemon, and the reason this trainer is feeling this way is because the dog, you're hanging around the dog,
Mm.
and because of how that Pokemon is, that it's kind of like slowly sucking the life energy out of you." And yeah, that's kind of cool and stuff because dogs are supposed to be man's best friend, but
This
then
is my
this
best
dog,
friend.
yeah, this dog is the exact opposite, kind of sort of not your friend, even though in the video it's playing fetch, but it's still in the life out of you. So should you really consider it? Your best friend and stuff like that, and
I'll
yeah, it's
consider it.
it's, it's,
I'll consider it.
it's yeah. Oh boy.
That's my fifth though.
Okay, so all right, wrapping up the kind of Pokemon that I want. So for my sixth one, okay. So when I seen this Pokemon, I was ecstatic. I was over the moon. Deja vu. I think I said that already, but it is Cerulege. Now, I have something to say about Cerulege. So whenever people first seen this Pokemon, basically it was unanimous for everybody that liked this kind instead of the one that you can get in Scarlet. Um, Everybody was saying the same thing. Well, I like its aesthetic. The way it looked. I like the fact that it has its color, or that it has blades for arms, or the flames and whatnot. And for me personally, that wasn't the case. What really stood out to me whenever I first seen it above all that other stuff was its eyes, because it has like this flame eye kind of thing going on. And for me, as a longtime anime fan, I love that thing when it comes to anime characters in general. Whether it's the flames coming out of your right eye or your left eye, I always enjoyed that. As a matter of fact, a lot of the time, for if I'm creating an original character in OC or whatever, even when it comes to books, more so in books, I always like my character to have that kind of thing for their character. And whenever I first seen Cerulege, as I just said, that was the first thing that came out to me because that was just so cool. And then afterwards, all the other stuff started falling in line. Well, yeah, I like the way it looks. I like its color, and even it's a fire and ghost type, which is the same thing for Chandelier. And as I just said, that's not the main thing that drew me into it, but I mean, I guess you can consider that a cherry on top of the cake because, I'm a huge fan of Chandelier also, but as I just said, that wasn't the one thing that attracted me to this Pokemon. And if gameplay footage that I've seen is anything to go by, and it's pre-evolution because yes, it does have one. It's so tiny, it's cute.
It's very
Um,
tiny.
yeah,
We're not going to spoil it here, but
right.
it
If
it's very tiny.
if what I've seen is anything to go by, then if you do challenge the gyms, from weakest to strongest, then I've heard that after the second gym is whenever you can get access to this Pokemon. And apparently it's a really rare spawn and you can only find it at night.
Mm.
And for those of you that know about the whole camping feature, um, doing that and making the sandwiches and getting the benefits of, I think it said like fire types or something showing up, like you have that benefit to where the fire types show up more often. Then, you take that and, it's rare and it's spawning at night. All those together, that's how you're supposed to be able to find it. And still talking about its pre Evo for both Scarlet and Violet, I also heard that an item is also has something to do with it evolving also. You had to go and seek out this one NPC in this one particular town. And then if you get the item from him, that helps it evolve also. I've also heard that for Cerulege, at least, knocking out a certain amount of Pokemon, and for him anyway, it's supposed to be like that T, that small T ghost type Pokemon. I'm thinking it's first or second stage or something. You got to knock it out so many times, and then that also helps it evolve. But I don't know which one of those three we're supposed to go by. More than the others, but you know, Thursday, Friday, it's coming up very very soon, so we'll know whenever the date gets
At
here.
the time of
So
this recording, yes.
yeah,
Got three,
but
4 days.
yeah, but with all that being said, those are the Pokemon that I want to use on my team whenever I play through Pokemon Violet.
Now my sixth one is between two Pokemon, but I think I will have to go with Cetitan
Okay.
because it's
Oh, that the whale
the,
Pokemon,
the
right?
whale Pokemon. Its
Okay.
pre-evolution is
Yeah.
adorable,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
pure
I
Ice
get
type,
it.
which kind of sucks, but it kind of doesn't because I think Ice types are getting a buff. Um,
Yeah, I think I did hear that. Yeah, kind of, sort of.
and its ability Slush Rush is new, I think, if I'm not
Yeah, I
mistaken.
think it is. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
And I kind of want that.
All right.
I, it looks really cool, and I'm curious to see how it actually plays.
Okay. So you said Titan, but didn't you also say that there might have been another one for your sixth spot also?
Yeah, Farigiraf.
Oh, Farigiraf. Yeah.
Farigiraf.
Yeah. That Pokemon is just adorable. Whenever I seen it, I thought it was kind of cute. But then I seen what its shiny form is
Yeah.
supposed to look like, and that made me like it just that much more. And fun fact, when I do my second playthrough of Pokemon Violet, that is another one that I plan on using on my team also because that whole graffiti monkey Pokemon and then Grafaiai, those are two that I kind of want to use on a second playthrough for my team.
And we will be streaming this on Twitch when it comes out.
Yeah. All right,
We plan on
so
going to the pre-release, so
yes, and I'm super excited because I just really want to get my hands on this game, and I'm pretty sure that's the same way for almost every big Pokemon fan. So,
yeah.
all right. So, my friend, do you have anything else you want to add before we close out this video?
Um, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitch at Coral Papa. Link will be in the description. And we will be streaming this game on Twitch when it comes out.
Okay. Yeah, and he pretty much said it all. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And once again, I apologize that that a collab like this or took a little bit
Forever.
longer than, took a little bit longer than anticipated. But adulting sucks, and you got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that nonsense. Even my links, I'll make sure that they're down in the description bar below.
All the links will be
And,
down there.
okay, and yeah, so thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see each and every one of you in the next one. Until next time, peace.
Goodbye.